Joining us, Semaphore Congressional Bureau Chief Burgess Everett, former Democratic Congressman for New York, and senior advisor at VoteVets Max Rose, and co-founder of the Lincoln Project and former GOP strategist Rick Wilson. Burgess, give us the lay of the land. Is this housing bill going to get signed?
It seems like it's going to become law, whether he signs it or not. If he doesn't sign it in 10 days after it's transmitted from the Speaker of the House, who said he would do this, it will become law. If he were to veto it, it would be just another huge circular firing squad. I can't imagine anybody wants him to do that. Then the House and Senate would be forced to either override his veto or acquiesce, as you said. So it seems like this will become law. And I guess if there's any silver lining, Katie, it's that more people are paying attention to this housing bill at this point.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing. Republicans don't have a lot, Burgess, to run on. How much have they been screaming from the mountaintops about getting at least this one thing?
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed Senate Majority Leader Thune earlier this week. He was saying he wants to pass it. He wants his candidates to go out there and talk about it and campaign on it. He's hoping to do a couple more bipartisan bills, but as you know, those have been in short supply this year and last year. I still think the main thing that Republicans can run on is the tax cuts bill. But as we've seen, Trump doesn't really stay on message when it comes to that. And so that has made it harder for voters to really feel it. And we haven't really seen that translate to a bump in the polls. And we're also leaving out the expired surveillance law. So I think there's a couple things that Republicans need to get together to even be able to say, hey, voters, you can trust us with another 2 years in Congress.
Donald Trump is also, it seems, trying to strong-arm some House Republicans who appeared to be trying to help him. He posted this on social media. House Republicans should unify and stop voting down rules or threatening to do so. Giving power to the radical left Democrats in the House to control what goes up for a vote will make our outcomes worse, not better. No more grandstanding, please. They are Democrats, and we can't let them win. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. By the way, I want to mention Donald Trump is speaking right now at the Faith and Freedom Conference. I was reminded of this because he says Democrats here. He says he's going to be talking about the recent election of communists when he addresses this crowd, or as he addresses this crowd. Burgess, just quickly to you, and I want to get to the others. Is he talking about Anna Paulina Luna?
Yeah, I mean, she's the one who was kind of leading this blockade on the Save America Act. She was threatening to shut down the floor. There's also talk about trying to attach it to the defense bill, which passes every year. It's one of the few last popular every year it passes bills in Congress. So that would lead to another firefight. So it's interesting that he's kind of giving Mike Johnson a solid there. And I don't really feel like he's doing that so much on the other side of the Capitol when it comes to the Senate.
All right, Rick, give us your perspective on the day's events.
Well, look, Donald Trump started the week in very bad shape. He went in Wednesday and blew up his already tattered relationship with the Senate, threatening to veto this bill. You could see the air going out of Republicans in the House who desperately needed anything, even a symbolic, lightweight, ephemeral sort of thing to take to the voters and say, yeah, we looked at affordability, we're working on housing costs. But I think there's also a great chance that Donald Trump will get bored or restless or change his mind, or somebody will get in his ear over the weekend and he'll blow it all up again. And the idea that the House is going to be somehow saved by Donald Trump from its own worship of Donald Trump, which is what's put them in this terrible political position, I think that is a big old category error, and I don't think they see the freight train coming at them.
On that note, let me read Representative Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. Again, he's been I don't want to call him a swing representative because that's not exactly right, but he's been a more independent, all things considered, voice within the Republican conference. He told Axios, I totally disagree with the tactic, the Donald Trump strong-arming tactics. These are his New York real estate leverage tactics he's trying to apply to government. I don't agree with it. Don Bacon, also one of the more, again, it's all relative, independent voices in the Republican conference, said he should sign it. This is a win, and the House already voted on this SAVE Act 3 times. I mean, as Rick was saying, they made their bed. They knew he was a snake when he let them in. They let him in.
This is all laughable. In the end, there's a few strange things happening here. One, I got to tell you, I just don't think Donald Trump likes this housing bill, because I don't think Donald Trump wants to increase the amount of housing because he wants the rich to get richer. And that's
a real estate guy at heart?
Yeah, he's a real estate guy at heart. I don't think he likes the bill. And in that way, he is too radical even for Mike Johnson. So let's just leave that there. On a principal issue of affordability, Donald Trump is anti-lowering costs. But then if I were to shift really into, psychiatrist mode, which is, my favorite, place to speak from, Donald Trump didn't like that he was not the center of attention with this bill. This wasn't his bill. He didn't drive it front and center. It this act of bipartisanship kind of came out of nowhere, and he wants to insert himself in. And then Mike Johnson steps in and says, we solved the day. Donald Trump agrees to it. What these guys are repeatedly doing is they're setting fires, putting on firefighter uniforms, and then claiming that they saved the day. It's radicalism through and through, and it's yet another reason, another illustration of how they are not fit to actually govern.
So this is not just, you're saying that you're a Democrat, obviously you've got an opinion here, but the American public is speaking pretty clearly. We've seen it in every single poll, which I think it's trustworthy at this point, how Americans feel about Donald Trump's leadership. Here's his approval numbers. We can show you how they have changed, put them up on the screen. January 25, 47% approval right after he came into office. Not bad. Now, 34% approval. That is a 30-point drop in just over a year. Rick, how do you come back from that?
Well, you have to change your entire character, personality, philosophy, and behavior, which, as you know, Donald Trump is very, very incapable of doing. Look, the brand of Donald Trump has become poisonous in American politics. And the reason Republicans are worried about it is because Trump's numbers are now in the, as you see, mid-30s. Low to mid-30s. He was at 30% in the ARG poll this week. And no president in modern times with numbers that low doesn't end up splashing some radiation onto the members of his own caucus, of his own House and Senate. So these guys are really running up against a very steep hill because Donald Trump is so profoundly unpopular with the American public. That same ARG poll this week had only 6% saying the economy was going in the right direction. I think this is a real moment where the Republicans, if they were politically smart about it, would try to get some daylight between themselves and Trump, but they are so locked in this abusive marriage with him. He is the Ike Turner of their lives. He's going to torture them and hurt them, and they can't seem to escape from it.
Look at the generic congressional ballot, Real Clear Politics average. Right now, Democrats lead at 48% to 43%. Again, this is a generic ballot. Individual races are individual.
Sure.
And a lot of the places that Democrats are running in, have been gerrymandered in Republican favor. So how much stock do you put in to that ballot? The generic.
I love generic ballots. I put a ton of stock into that. I think.
Why? Tell me.
In the end, a midterm election is about candidates, certainly, but it's about other things, too. It's about base enthusiasm. It's about anger at the incumbent party. It's about anger at the incumbent president. Despite these attempts by Republicans to gerrymander certain seats, which you just alluded to, there's no doubt that the momentum in each of those pillars that I just laid out is on the Democrat side. So the question is now, what do you do with all that, right? And what you're going to see is Democrats trying to do two things at the same time, which at times can be semi-contradictory. One is they cannot just be the party that is anti-Trump. You got to run on something and not be such cowards in the face of that. The other thing, though, is just don't screw it up, right? Don't say things that are totally reckless. Don't try to push the Overton window so you can get a couple of extra likes on social media. And that constant push and pull will be the dynamic we'll see for the coming weeks and months.
Let's talk about Democrats and some criticism for a moment. This is coming from Melissa Slotkin. She says that it's time for new leadership. Let me play her talking about Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries.
We have literally found ourselves in a situation where we just don't have people who understand the moment and understand what leadership means. If people can't understand that the game has changed, this is you. You're the sports guy. If people can't understand that the game has fundamentally changed and they can't adapt, then they need to let others lead.
Burgess, is she a lonely voice on this on Capitol Hill?
You know, I wouldn't say so. And I would like to also just give credit to Stephen A. Smith, he pressed her on this. He made sure she was specifically talking about Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Right. And so that is why that answer has been so surprising. She's not saying get rid of these folks. She's saying they need to step it up, and we're watching you, basically. And so this is a challenge to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries a few months before the election, to put up big numbers in the election and then to take on Trump with a very pugnacious style. And if you're hearing that from Elissa Slotkin, who is a battleground state Democrat, a purple state Democrat who won while Donald Trump won in Michigan, that gives you a sense of what's a more progressive member thinking right now, probably 3 or 4 times that.